the word predestined is the concept of God's foreknowledge. God's foreknowledge, he knows the end from the what? From the beginning. So we can argue about the concept of predestination, but you forget what the predestination is all about. So we major on the minors and we forget the main meat, the essence of what this thing is talking about. He says that having predestined us to what? Adoption. So the second decision is the decision of adoption. And see the contradiction. You don't adopt your own child. Do you adopt your own child? You don't adopt your own child. You only adopt somebody else's child. So from the beginning of time, in this word predestined us to adoption, God knew that what? Man will sin. And that sin will make man a legal child of the devil. So we are not all children of God. We start out as children of the devil. You only become a child of God by what? Adoption. In that word adoption, God knew that we will be children of the enemy. God knew that man would sin. See the difference between current day adoption and God's own adoption. In current day adoption, you can adopt a baby that doesn't even know the biological mother. And you can train the baby in such a way that the baby thinks that this is the father, this is the... I don't know if you get what I'm trying to say. You can adopt. Only the parents know. But if you adopt an adult, and the adult knows that you are not what? You are not the biological. Am I communicating? And you know that in a younger baby, you can mold a baby very what? Early. And the baby begins to take your belief system, mannerism, and the rest. Which one is riskier, adopting a baby or adopting an adult? It's an adult too. And can I say this to you? God adopted us what? As adults, full of sin. He didn't adopt us as baby, innocent baby. No. He adopted us as what? Stubborn, rebellious, recalcitrant, difficult babies, adults. But you see, there's something about this. He said that adoption is according to what? The good what? Pleasure of his will. So God was happy to adopt us. Is there a risk? Yes, I understand the risk that I'm going to pay. And that adoption has a price. The price here is who? Is Jesus Christ. So God says, I'm going to give up my son for this rebellious, stubborn, difficult children of the devil. Why did God do that? Because his eternal plan has always been to love us, but also because he knows that he can change our nature to conform to the image of his son. So in adoption, we are not saved sinners. So adoption says that God wants us the way we are, but his love will not leave us the way we are. Therefore, you did not receive the spirit of what? Bondage again to fear. I want you to notice the word again. That word again means that before now, the spirit that you have is the spirit of what? Bondage. That leads to what? Fear. So today, every man in the world without Christ has a spirit of bondage. Bondage to addiction, bondage to sex, bondage to this. When people say, I cannot help it, it's the spirit of bondage. It's the spirit of bondage that leads to fear. He said you did not receive the spirit of bondage again to fear. So before you met Jesus, the spirit in your life is the spirit of bondage. He said, but you have received what? Did you see that? The spirit we receive is the spirit of adoption, by whom we cry out what? Abba, Father. So in this, there's a change in our spiritual state. That's what he said. There's a change in our identity. There's a change in our relationship, by whom we cry out. We can approach the Father. Abba, Father. That's that word of intimacy. The spirit that we have is the spirit of adoption. Now you now understand Colossians 1:13 that says that God has delivered us from what? The power of darkness and what? And translated us into the kingdom of his dear son. That's what adoption is. In in adoption, you go to an orphanage, and all the crisis in the orphanage, when you pay the price, you bring the person out of the orphanage and you bring the person into your house. That is adoption. Redemption is simply the process of adoption.